Do you genuinely go into a game against a team that are on top of the world if you're in an underperforming side and believe that you can't beat them?
Well, it's all about belief. You know, they do have an aura, the All Blacks. They've shown how strong they've set the standard really in international rugby. I remember we played an A game in Belfast a few years back, and just to show you what the mindset was like back then. You know, I was rooming with Anthony Horgan. We were playing the All Blacks in an A game, and I said, "How do you think we'll do today, Anthony?" And he said, "I think they'll beat us 80 points to nil." And I was there. That's a real confidence booster. But that was years back. But now the current players, you know, they've grown, they've achieved a lot, and you have to believe as a player that you're going to go out there and perform. You have a fear factor. That fear stimulates you. Puts you on edge, and it gives you that energy to try and perform. That if you don't play well, if you're not physical, if you're not aggressive, if you don't bring the right application, it could be a very long day. So, you know, Ireland have to believe, the individual players, the group have to have that confidence and that belief that if they turn up. I was in Christchurch 2 years ago for the test match where they should have won. They were fantastic. Their energy, they made tackles, they jumped up off the ground, they made another tackle, the scrum was good, the collisions were good. I know a week later we lost 60 points to nil, but that night, if they want to have a look at how you frustrate the All Blacks and get in their faces and what's required to match the All Blacks, they should look at that game.
But Sean Fitzpatrick isn't the only one who suggested this is possibly the greatest team of all time. But they've had some dodgy moments the last couple of weeks. So if you were to pick out areas where they're less strong as opposed to weak, where do you target?
Well, defensively this season they have been a bit all over the shop. They're averaging missing over 20 tackles per game, 30 against England last weekend, 28 against France the week before, which is phenomenally high. You know, for a team of their ability, there's a real weakness there at the moment. The other area that they're a little bit vulnerable on is their forward pack. I mean, England. If England had a backline, they would have beaten them last weekend. England's forward pack really took it to them, were aggressive, dominated through line-out mauls, and that's the platform for Ireland. I mean, you know, we're not going to be able to beat New Zealand by throwing the ball around. We've got to beat them up front. And Declan Kidney used to always say, someday an Irish team will beat New Zealand, and what an opportunity to be the first. You know, it's like Munster beating them, you know, all those years ago. It's a chance to create history, and they don't come around very often. Maybe 2 or 3 times for guys who have long careers. So this Saturday is an opportunity, and someday an Irish team will beat them.
What is the mindset going to be of these players, though, Frankie? If you were in camp with these players this week, what way will your mind be working? No, you've come off a performance like that, and you've to meet possibly the greatest team of all time. Well,
they have to be terrified, Joanne. You have to use that fear, because if they play like the way they played in the last 2 weeks, they will get murdered by 40, 50 points. Bernard is right. You play rugby in the traditional open sense against the All Blacks, they will beat you every time. They're too good. They'll beat Ireland every time, right? So what do we have to do? And Quinny said it a while ago, you have to slow it down. You have to frustrate it. You have to be prepared to make this the most boring game that's ever been played, right? Don't care about the 50,000 that are watching it. Slow them, pull them, drag them, annoy them, frustrate them, and be as cynical as you want to be. And I'm sorry, I apologise to anyone out there, but that is the way Ireland have to play.
They're quite cynical themselves, the All Blacks. If you watch their dominance, they intimidate, they frustrate opposition. They come in from the sides, they frustrate teams, and they have this skill set. You mentioned the missed tackles and stuff like that. They do, because they do miss tackles, but they can just switch it on when they want to. If they need to score, that game in South Africa, you know, in Ellis Park, that performance in the Tri-Nations was phenomenal. South Africa scored, and it was just a case of, right, we'll dust ourselves off and we'll just go up the field and score. We'll turn over the ball. But the thing here for the Irish players, and this is the most important thing, this is an opportunity. Ask the 2 boys or myself, I'd give my right hand to play against the All Blacks on Sunday. I'd love to be going out there playing. Of course, there's a fear factor, but you have to have a passion to put on that jersey for your country. Last week is gone. They'll try and address the problems, absorb the criticism that they deserve. But this is an opportunity to play for your country against, you know, a chance to be part of history, really. It mightn't happen, but what an opportunity for the individual players.
Well, in terms of New Zealand, then let's look at what they have to do right defensively this time to try to combat this great team. Yeah,
unfortunately against Australia, we were very poor defending the wide channels. We lacked line speed. Here we're actually okay in terms of our spacing around the first receiver, but after that we're caught with Mike Ross and Cian Healy. The Australians aren't in great attacking shape here. The pass goes behind the Australian ball carrier. That's an opportunity to stop the ball. Fortunately, Mike Ross, he loses the collision. after that, Bernard just tries to close when everyone else is drifting. And here is the worst example. I mean, it's 3v1. You got to use the touchline here. That's actually a low tackle, and you're going to turn over the ball. And unfortunately, there's no communication. And Owen Redden over wedges, and he's beaten on the inside. So there's 3 errors there within one phase of play. It's too much. Another opportunity here. We're a little bit narrow on the inside, but just watch the collective reaction of the Irish defence. The ball goes at the back. The line speed isn't great. They've held their space. So now it's 3 defenders against 5. It looks bad. It's easy to shut that down. You just use the touchline, you have confidence. Unfortunately, Peter Mahoney, he doesn't stop the ball. And Robbie Henshaw, a young player, he just knocks off for half a second, and he's a very talented guy. He'll learn from that. But against Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, you lose concentration for a millisecond, they will punish you. And we've got to do those small things right this weekend.
You'd want to have all your top players there. It's looking very likely Johnny Sexton won't be there. Fergus McFadden looks like he's going to be out injured with a hand injury as well. Who's going to play at 10? Who should play at 10?
Yeah, I'd certainly be looking at Madigan on the back. I thought he did well last weekend. He was very good. Jackson was pretty good the week before. But just, I suppose, going back to Bernard's point there on the defence, I think there's an opportunity in that Carter's not playing. Cruden is playing, you know what I mean? So, I mean, Ireland need to start to put the pressure on him, and they need to make sure they terrorise him for the whole day. But in the 27 times that Ireland have played against the All Blacks, in the last 10 times they've conceded 37 points, right, per match on average, right? And that just goes back to the point, is defence is the key here. Now, we've only scored an average of about 14 points in the last 10 games as well. So, but they must bring that down to about 20 points to have any chance.
But selection is key, isn't it?
Well,
and the biggest selection is the man at out half.
Yeah, I think Madigan was involved last week, so I think Madigan will be at 10. We have to go back to a bit of old school physicality. Hopefully the skill set improves, the errors are less, but there has to be a real physicality for Ireland to really get at the All Blacks. As I mentioned Christchurch 18 months, 2 years ago. I remember that match so well. I was getting so excited by it. Guys would make a tackle, they'd bounce off their feet again, and they'd want to make another tackle. If you have any chance against these guys, it's about desire. And their desire, commitment, attitude was questioned against Australia. So they need a reaction. This is a real question of the individual players, collectively, and I hope they can really bring out some passion and heart on Sunday.
Okay, well, we only have a little bit of time left, so do you have any optimism that Ireland can get a result?
Based on Saturday, no, but I do have massive belief in the character of the players. I have massive belief in the coaches, and if they bring that intensity and they don't try and cover all the options, you know, just let's make a decision. Let's all back it. Let's put the pressure on the All Blacks to actually to create something. You know, if we stand off them, we've no chance.
I think a realistic target for this team, forget about winning or losing, is to go out and rattle them and earn the respect back again of the supporters. That's all I think anybody here wants. That's all any supporter wants. Earn the respect again.
Okay.